You're not making as much money as you want because you're not as good as you think you are. I'm just being real. You're probably not that good yet, comma, and that's okay. But this is like the equation of life. Volume times time equals skill. You got to do it a lot of times for a long period of time, and you will get better. If you suck today, you will suck less tomorrow. And eventually, one day you will look up and suck so little that you will actually be good. And then people will ask you, how did you become an overnight success? And then instead of saying, here's how you cold call, you say, here's how I did it.
You gotta just press record.
So how do I make content if I'm just starting out? Excellent question. So there's two frame shifts that I think have to occur. Do, then talk, how I versus how to, and give versus get. All right, so let's start with the first one. So who here hates this? How to live an amazingly happy life and get everything that you want from somebody who is doing this part-time and is still cutting hair, right? There's nothing wrong with cutting hair, but it probably wouldn't make you an authority on this matter. Does that make sense? Some of you are doing this and wondering why it's not working. You're like, oh man, my stuff's so much better. It honestly doesn't matter. Because if I had 1,000 people on stage, like on my followers, and I made the same presentation, you wouldn't give a shit. Like I'm trying, like real, right? And so there's a better way, I think. All right, so this is Alex's crazy content creation model, trademark pending. Step 1, do shit. Step 2, talk about what you just did, and then do bigger. This is a complex model, I know. So here's how it looks in the real world. Hey, here's what I did, versus here's what you should do. Feel the difference? This is what I did. If it works for you, awesome. If it doesn't work for you, no sweat. Here's 20 of my clients. This is the stuff that I'm doing with them right now. Rosie was struggling with some skin condition. We started giving her magic pills, and look at her skin now. It's amazing, right? But like this is what, it might not work for you, but this will work for her, and this will work for him, and this will work for my clients, right? Not what you should do. As soon as you point out, people hate you because it sounds like you're preaching. It sounds like you have an ego, and I just don't think people like that. And so I think it's also switching from how to how I. So how to build a massive social media following to how I built the following that I have. Feel the difference? It's really small, but really big in terms of how people interpret your message. And so I think it's really speaking on your truths rather than claiming to know the truth. So question, who here makes the content because they want to become famous and feel good about themselves? Or who here is making stuff because they want it to be received and help the audience? And so the thing is you have to feed them and not you. And I think if you can make that shift, I think, in my opinion, it will be more effective. And so if you look at the biggest influencers in the business space, because this is the space that I'm kind of in, you look at these guys, I mean, shoot, half these guys are talking here. I'm very honored to be on stage with them. Which one of these guys made the money they have from the social media following? And so how many of these people needed the followers? None, right? People are like, I want to be the next this. It's like, if you want to be the next that, then you got to walk that walk. And so you probably won't be respected as an authority on business until you've achieved mega success. The same reason you look at your competitors like, that guy sucks. It's like they're looking at you. And it's because, why should I listen to you? And so here's the good news, because you're like, well, Alex, what do I talk about? Here's the good news. You can become a niche-specific authority. So rather than going like, here's how to live an amazing life, right? That's like, you've got to be Jesus. Jesus can do that. You can't do that. Jesus can do that, right? So you got to go from here to like, I'm really good at helping people build ATM businesses. I'm really good at helping people flip houses in Phoenix, right? Because in that little ocean, that little pond, you can be king. Because you got to compete against 20 guys, you got to walk the talk, right? You got to do what you're doing, you talk about what you're doing. That's it, but you can win in that little pond. And I'll show you how to scale from there in a second. But you can do that. And so this is me when I started. So I had a couple powerlifting records, and I liked working out. And so the stuff that I did then was about what I was doing then. And so you can't read it, but it says how to get rid of stubborn fat on your arms and stomach. That's the content I was making then. And who was it relevant for? Just the members at my gym. But that was my way of adding value, and I already had rapport with them. So they're like, if I'm going to learn about this identical topic from 100 different people, I'd just rather learn about it from you because I like you. And I had values-based rapport, not expertise. Like I had general expertise because I looked the way I looked, but beyond that, I didn't have a PhD. It's not like I did a ton of research. I read the same articles and just tried to make it entertaining. That was it. And I didn't become mega famous for that. But this made me money. This made me enough money to, grow the company that I had at the time. And so from there, I leveraged that to grow my first gym and then the gyms after that. And then from there, once the gyms grew, I started making content about how to grow gyms. Why? Because I knew how to grow gyms. I wasn't like, how to scale your SaaS company. You know what I mean? Like, how to reach $1 billion valuation. Like, I was like, I don't know, but this is what worked for my gyms. And people are like, dude, this stuff works. I'm like, I know, because I'm doing it. This is how I do it. Like, I know it works. This is how I do it. Of course it works. I'm doing it. Here's what's crazy. So many people are talking about and teaching stuff that A, they have never done, and B, they are repurposing someone else's content and making a version of it. Some of them are you. Right? And that's the thing is like when you start talking the theoretical and trying to teach something, it's how to rather than how I. So if you do the thing, then you just talk about what you just did. Now, later on, I think it's the capture, don't create, documents, don't create concept, but I understand that takes resources. Like it takes money to get people around you to, document your life and all that kind of stuff. Like that's expensive. But I think just even doing recaps of like, this is the stuff that's working right now for us in this context. People are like, thanks. You didn't have to do that. Thanks for sharing that stuff that's working for you, rather than how to. Most people seek truth. Would you say if you're like, raise your hand if you seek truth? Okay. So the easiest shortcut for the brain to seek truth is to look at someone who's the most extreme version and then think, okay, I don't have to apply a lot of decision-making filtering here because now I can just absorb this because I can just take this as fact. Because if Warren Buffett says this is how I should invest, I feel okay about that source. Even if he's like, save your money, spend less than you earn, dollar cost average into the S&P, and don't buy gold, right? Like he says that stuff and you're like, okay. Now, the stay-at-home teacher who's been saving all of her money could say the exact same thing, but she just forgot to build Berkshire Hathaway. You have to do things so that you have evidence that you can support why you are good. And this is like my favorite line from The Matrix. It's, I think, in the second or third, I can't remember which one it is, but Morpheus is up there and he's like, I feel truthfully unafraid, not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I think it gives a lot of spiritual strength that, because I got asked on an interview, they're like, how are you so certain? You talk about these things like with so much certainty. I was like, well, that's just how I've done it. Like, and it's that depth of experience and knowledge that like no one can question that we built those things. That's truth. Those are the real numbers. And so as long as you're not fudging your numbers, right? And you just say like, this is what it is, then of course you're certain. Because I think confidence is self-delusion. It's trying to make up for what you don't have evidence for. And I think it's a much easier practice to stop pretending and start doing the stuff that you should be certain about. And then you don't have to have bravado. You can get up, like, you can walk on stage and people are like, that guy built the biggest king and water empire out there. My buddy Colin's in the front. And he built that. He doesn't have to have confidence for people to listen to him. They will want to listen to everything that he says if that is what they want to do. Because they'll just go to the person that's done the thing that they want to do so that they don't have to apply a lot of effort in thinking, and they can just say, I'll do everything this person says. Most people cannot separate information from source. So what we do is we just seek out good sources. A fool can give you a very wise piece of wisdom or information or a lesson. And so the shorthand for most of us is just go to somebody who's an absolute authority in this thing that has unquestionably a reason that I should listen to them, and then just listen to them. I say all this to say, it's the path that lies behind you, not the path that lies in front of you, that will give you the certainty that you want to gain the influence you desire. My evolution for me was fitness first, and I just talked about this is what's worked for me. People are like, Alex, how do you eat Twizzlers and cookies all day and have a six-pack? And I'm like, A, genetics. B, I live at a gym. And C, I eat this way, right? And people are like, oh, so I can have cookies too and have a six-pack. And I was like, yes. And that was relevant for me. Some people are like super vegan superstars. Awesome. And they're going to talk about what's relevant for them. And the people who follow will be like, I vibe with that. Cool. And so I'm not going to be the best nutrition expert in the world, but in terms of like my little fiefdom, I can rule that. And then I moved up because I started doing well there. And people started asking me, hey, how are you growing your gym? I was like, well, this is how I grew my gym. They were like, well, what about business in general? I'm like, I don't know. I've never ran an e-commerce business. I don't know about manufacturing. I don't know about software. I don't know about any of that stuff. But I know how to grow a gym, so I only talked about that. And the amount of people that was relevant for, this many. But for that audience, everything. And just for context here, there are riches and niches. That company made a lot of money. Just saying. Like, it made a lot of money, and it didn't make me famous at all. And so again, the question is, do you want to be rich? Do you want to be famous? Are you trying to serve you? Are you trying to serve the audience?
If you want to hear more from Alex Hormozi, make sure you click on the screen and listen to our podcast, and also hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. I'll see you guys in the next one.